Okay, let's just dive in. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are not just opening a history book. We are, I think it's fair to say we are handling unexploded ordnance.
That's a very good way to put it, a very fair warning.
Yeah, we are lighting the fuse on a topic that is just explosive in every single sense of the word, culturally, politically, musically. I want to start with a quote that really, it set the tone for me when I was prepping for this.
Oh, okay.
It's from the music journalist Garrick D. Kennedy. He described the subject of our deep dive today as a sonic Molotov cocktail.
Sonic Molotov cocktail. Wow. That is a powerful image.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it implies something, homemade, volatile, and just designed to burn things down.
Exactly. And according to Kennedy, this cocktail, it ignited a firestorm when it was thrown through the window of pop culture in the summer of 1988. We're talking about one of the loudest big bangs in music history.
Yeah.
We're talking about N.W.A.,
Niggas with attitudes.
the world's most dangerous group.
A title they absolutely earned, quite literally.
It's just wild to think about. This is a group from Compton, California, that was really only active, as a full unit, for a few short years.
Yeah, what was it? 87 to 91, basically.
Right. It's a blink of an eye in music industry terms. But in that tiny window, they managed to completely rewrite the rule book.
And not just the musical rule book. They went after the cultural rule book, the political one, the business one. They changed everything.
So here's our mission for today. We need to figure out how 5 guys from Compton, California managed to bridge racial lines, scare the living daylights out of the FBI, and become, well, arguably the most influential act in hip-hop history.
It's a huge question. And to answer it, we have to go beyond the headlines or the basic VH1 behind the music story.
Right.
We really need to look at the chart data, the historical records, the biographical accounts, and just the nuts and bolts of the industry that they completely disrupted.
We're going to talk about the rise, the very messy feuds, the tragedy, and of course the legacy. But before we get to that Molotov cocktail moment in '88, we have to set the stage. Because I think a lot of people just assume N.W.A. appeared out of nowhere, fully formed, wearing all black and scowling.
Which is definitely not the case. If you drop yourself into Compton in 1987, the soundtrack of the city is. It's not what you'd expect.
Okay, so paint that picture for us.
Yeah.
What are the kids in Compton listening to right before N.W.A. drops?
They're listening to electro hop.
Electro hop. So we're talking about, what, like breakdancing beats, that kind of thing?
Exactly. Think Africa Bambata, Planet Rock. It's high energy, it's up-tempo, very danceable. It's music made for popping and locking, very, very synthesized.
So not the gritty, street-level storytelling we associate with the West Coast just a couple of years later.
And not even close. In fact, the dominant group on the West Coast scene at this time, and this is such crucial context, was the world-class Wreckin' Crew.
Okay, I have seen photos of the world-class Wreckin' Crew. And we need to describe this for you, the listener, because it's shocking, given who was in the group.
It's visually jarring if you only know the later history. We are talking shiny satin jackets, sequin jumpsuits.
Lace gloves.
Yes, lace glove. It was very, very Prince-inspired, wasn't it?
Totally. And the reason this matters so much is that Dr. Dre, the man who would eventually craft the most hardcore sound in hip-hop.
Yeah.
He was the DJ and producer for this group. He was wearing the sequins. He had a stethoscope around his neck.
It's such a huge disconnect, but you can feel the ground shifting beneath them. While the clubs were playing electro, the streets were getting a lot harder.
This is the height of the crack epidemic in Los Angeles.
Right. It's tearing through neighborhoods. Gang violence was spiking. So you had the split. The music was all about partying, but the reality was just about survival.
And that creates the vacuum, right?
Yeah.
For what critics would eventually label gangsta rap.
Right. Although, and this is a distinction we're absolutely going to keep coming back to, the group themselves, they hated that term.
They preferred reality rap.
Yes.
Yes.
They saw themselves as journalists. If you're a war correspondent and you take a picture of a battlefield, nobody accuses you of promoting war. You're just documenting it.
That was their argument.
Mm-hmm.
We're just showing you what's happening in our neighborhood.
Exactly. But the critics and definitely the parents, they did not see it that way.
No, they did not. Okay, let's get into the assembly of this team, because it really is like a heist movie, where you have to recruit the specialist for each job. And it all starts with the financier.
Eazy. Eric Wright.
Now, Eazy wasn't a rapper. Not at first.
No, not at all. Eazy was a street guy. He was a drug dealer, and he'd accumulated a pretty significant amount of cash. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars from the streets. And he had the foresight to realize that the drug game had a very short shelf life.
You end up dead or in prison.
Pretty much the only two outcomes. So he wanted to go legitimate. He wanted to get into the music business. So he co-founds Ruthless Records with a veteran industry manager named Jerry Heller.
And we will get to Jerry Heller later because that relationship is, let's just say, complicated.
Oh, yeah.
But Eazy needed talent. He had the money, but he didn't have the music.
Right. And this brings us to a really great little anecdote about Eazy's persistence. He was trying to get an introduction to a guy named Steve Yano.
And who was Steve Yano?
Yano was a legend in the LA scene. He ran a record stall at the Rhodium swap meet.
The swap meet. That feels so quintessentially West Coast.
It was the distribution hub. I mean, if you could get your take sold at the Rhodium, you had a shot. Yano was the tastemaker. And Eazy just kept badgering him, trying to get into that inner circle. And at first, Yano just blew him off. He wasn't interested in some kid with drug money.
But Eazy just didn't take no for an answer.
He was relentless. And that persistence is such a key character trait for Eazy-E. He eventually wore Yano down. Yano was impressed by the hustle and arranged a meeting that would, well, literally change history. He introduced Eazy-E to Dr. Dre.
So you have the money meeting the music.
Exactly. Eazy had the capital and the vision for an empire. Dre had the sonic architecture. He was so tired of the world-class wrecking crew. He wanted to make something harder, something that reflected what he was actually seeing outside his window.
But they still needed a voice. They needed a writer.
And that's where Ice Cube comes in. O'Shea Jackson.
Now, Cube wasn't a street guy, was he?
No, not in the same way. Cube was actually going to school. He was studying architectural drafting in Arizona for a bit, but he was always writing rhymes. He was in a local group called CIA.
So the initial core is Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and we have to mention another producer who, who often gets erased from the history books a little bit.
Arabian Prince.
Yeah, Arabian Prince feels like the Pete Best of N.W.A. sometimes.
He was a founding member. A producer and a rapper. And his style was very much rooted in that electro-hop sound we were just talking about.
Right.
And that tension between the old electro sound and the new gangsta sound is perfectly captured in their very first single.
Panic Zone.
Panic Zone from 1987.
I went back and listened to this track, and if you played it for me totally out of context, I would never in a million years guess it was N.W.A. It sounds like a techno track.
It really does. It's got that rapid fire beat. It's very synthesized. It fits that Arabian Prince vibe perfectly. But there is a piece of trivia about this song that just, it absolutely blew my mind when I found it in the research.
The title.
The title. It wasn't originally called Panic Zone.
Tell the listener what it was called. This is incredible.
It was originally titled Hispanic Zone.
Hispanic Zone.
Yes, it was co-written by a Mexican rapper named Crazy D. The song was basically about Crazy D's life and the neighborhood where he lived.
So we almost had the world's most dangerous group launching with a track called Hispanic Zone. It's unbelievable.
It's incredible to think about. But this is where we see the business savvy of Dr. Dre kicking in really, really early.
So what did Dre do?
Dre looked at the title and he advised Crazy D to change it. He basically said, look, if you put the word Hispanic in the title, it's going to hurt sales. It's going to pigeonhole the record.
Wow. So even in 1987, before they're superstars, before any of this, Dre is thinking about branding and marketability.
Completely. He's thinking about broad appeal. So they changed Hispanic to Panic.
It's such a massive what-if moment in music history. I mean, if I stick with Hispanic Zone, maybe N.W.A. never becomes N.W.A. Maybe they just stay a local novelty act.
It just shows that they were still trying to figure out their identity. You know, they weren't locked in yet.
So to round out the group, Dre brings in his buddy from the Wrecking Crew.
DJ Yella, a really reliable, talented DJ who had great chemistry with Dre from their old days.
And finally, they recruit the sixth member, the final piece of the puzzle.
MC Ren, Lorenzo Patterson, just a ferocious lyricist who brought this very dark, very serious edge to the group.
So the team is assembled. They release a compilation album called N.W.A. and the Posse in 1987.
Which is a bit of a misnomer, isn't it?
Yeah, I looked at the track list. N.W.A. is barely on it.
They only appear on, 3 of the 11 tracks? It was really more of a showcase for Ruthless Records. You had Panic Zone, you had 8 Ball, Dope Man, and Eazy-E's big solo track, Boys in the Hood.
But even with that really limited output, it charted. It hit number 39 on the Billboard Top R&B Hip Hop chart.
Which was the proof of concept. It showed Eazy and Jerry Heller that there was a hungry audience for this content. The appetizer was a hit. Now it was time for the main course.
1988, the Sonic Molotov cocktail. straight out of Compton.
This is the moment. This is when everything changes.
Let's break down the opening salvo, because I don't think there has ever been an album in any genre that starts with 3 punches this hard.
It's completely relentless. Okay, so track 1, straight out of Compton.
The introduction.
It's the manifesto. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. That opening line, that's the thesis for the entire album. They are telling you right from the jump, we are not from New York. We aren't from the glamorous parts of LA. We are from Compton.
And they made Compton sound like a war zone and a badge of honor at the same time.
They put it on the map. Before this album, Compton was just another suburb. After this, it was a mythological place in the global imagination.
Then you go straight into track 2. And this is the one that really, really scared the establishment. Fuck that police.
It's hard to overstate how shocking this was in 1988. I mean, you have to remember, this is the era of just saying no. This is the era of respectability politics. And here you have a group of young black men putting the entire institution of the police on trial.
Literally. The song is structured like a court case.
It is Judge Dre presiding. And they aren't just, yelling insults at the police. They are listing specific grievances. They're talking about racial profiling. They're talking about brutality. The fact that, as the lyrics say, police think they have the authority to kill a minority.
It was a protest song. Full stop.
It absolutely was. It was a primal scream against the conditions they were living under. This wasn't manufactured rage. It was real.
And then, before you can even catch your breath, you're at track 3. Gangsta, gangsta.
Which pivots from the external enemy, the police, to the internal lifestyle. This is the track that describes the worldview of the gangsta.
Life ain't nothing but bitches and money.
It's so nihilistic, it's hedonistic, and it paints a picture of a world where empathy is a weakness. And this is where the sociological aspect comes in. They're showing you the product of the environment they just described in the first 2 tracks.
No, we mentioned that term gangsta rap earlier. And the media, they heard gangsta, gangsta, and they said, aha. That's the genre name.
It was an easy label, and a very convenient one for them because it allowed the media to just dismiss the music as being criminal. If you call it gangster rap, you're implying that the artists are just thugs promoting violence.
But Ice Cube hated that label.
He despised it. He called it reality rap.
Explain that distinction for us. Why does that specific wording matter so much?
Because words have power. Reality rap frames the artist as a journalist, a mirror. Ice Cube's argument was always, don't shoot the messenger. If you don't like what we're saying in our songs, maybe you should fix the neighborhood we're rapping about. He was saying that they were documenting the symptoms of a sick society, not causing the sickness itself.
That is a crucial distinction. Let's talk about the production for a second, because the sound of this album is just as important as the lyrics.
Oh, this is the Dr. Dre genius really coming into bloom.
It's so noisy, it's chaotic.
It's a wall of sound. Dre was using samples, live instrumentation, and heavy, heavy percussion. The drums on this album, specifically those TR-808 kicks, they hit you in the chest.
It really does sound like the city. It sounds like traffic and sirens and people yelling.
Precisely. It's immersive. And then you have the writing. And this is another area where the casual listener might get confused. Eazy is the front man. He's on the cover. He's the star.
But he wasn't writing the words.
No. The DOC, Ice Cube, and MC Ren were the primary writers.
So when you hear Eazy rapping those iconic lines in Boys in the Hood or 8 Ball, he's essentially an actor performing a script written by Cube.
In a sense, yes. But we can't discredit Eazy's performance. I mean, he had that voice.
That high-pitched nasal whine.
It shouldn't have worked, but it was perfect. It cut through the heavy bass like a knife. He had a charisma that you just can't teach. So even if he didn't write the words, he owned them.
Now, you would think that a group rapping about killing police and selling drugs would be completely blacklisted by the industry. And, well, they were.
Banned from almost every single mainstream radio station. MTV refused to play the video for Straight Outta Compton.
And yet the album went double platinum.
Which is millions and millions of copies.
How? I mean, how do you sell millions of records with absolutely zero airplay?
You leverage the controversy. This album was one of the first big adopters of the parental advisory label.
That black and white sticker. Parental advisory. Explicit lyrics.
The RIAA had introduced that standard stickering around 1985, but N.W.A. wore it like a badge of honor.
But wait, usually a warning label is the kiss of death. I mean, it means Walmart won't stock you. It means parents won't buy it for their kids.
For a pop artist, yes. For a rebellious rap group, It was the greatest marketing tool ever invented. It was a giant sign that told every teenager in America, this is the forbidden fruit.
This is the stuff your mom absolutely hates.
Exactly. Nothing makes a suburban kid want to buy a tape more than knowing his parents and the FBI hated. The ban created this mystique. You had to seek it out. It became a word-of-mouth phenomenon.
And speaking of the FBI, we have to talk about the letter, because this feels like a plot point from a movie that is just too ridiculous to be true.
But it is 100% documented fact.
So who started this? Where did the pressure come from?
It began with an organization called Focus on the Family, a conservative Christian group. They caught wind of the lyrics to Fuck That Police and were, predictably horrified.
So they lobbied Washington.
They applied pressure. And somehow this pressure reached the desk of a man named Milt Alaric.
And who was Milt Alaric?
He wasn't just some low-level clerk. He was an assistant director of the FBI. He was based in Washington, D.C., dealing with major federal crimes.
And this guy takes time out of his day to write a letter to a small record label in a strip mall in California.
It is absurd. He wrote a letter to Ruthless Records and their distributor, Priority Records.
What did it say?
It was on official FBI letterhead, and it said, essentially, that advocating violence and assault is wrong, and that the law enforcement community took exception to their music.
That sounds like a veiled threat. Nice little record label you have there. Shame if something were to happen to it.
It was an intimidation tactic. The goal was to scare them. Maybe get the label to drop them, get the distributor to back out.
But it backfired spectacularly.
Completely. I mean, imagine you're Eazy-E. You are selling an image of being the world's most dangerous group. And then the Federal Bureau of Investigation sends you a letter confirming that you are, in fact, dangerous.
You frame that letter.
You frame it, and you send a press release to every newspaper in the country. Look, the FBI is scared of us. It legitimized them. It proved to the fans that N.W.A. wasn't just playing pretend. They were actually upsetting the government.
The letter is actually in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now, which is just...
the ultimate irony.
But it wasn't all just free publicity. There were real-world consequences from this.
Oh, yeah. The blue wall of silence went up. Police departments all across the country started communicating with each other. They flat out refused to provide security for N.W.A. concerts.
And you can't get insurance for a stadium show without police security.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they effectively couldn't tour. They were selling millions and millions of albums, but they couldn't play the arenas that wanted to book them. It hit them right in the pocketbook.
I want to zoom out for a second and look at the politics of this. We mentioned the war on crime earlier.
Yeah, the late 80s was a very specific political climate. You had the Reagan administration, followed by Bush. The whole rhetoric was tough on crime. We saw the militarization of police forces, the introduction of mandatory minimum sentences, and these huge crackdowns on inner-city neighborhoods.
So when N.W.A. comes out with this album, they aren't just entertainment.
No. There's a researcher, Brian J. McCann, who has studied this extensively, and he argues that the political elite viewed gangsta rap as an existential threat.
An existential threat. That is a heavy term.
It means a threat to your very existence or the existence of your system. They truly feared that this music was going to radicalize the youth.
And it wasn't just black youth they were worried about, was it?
That was the real fear. They were terrified that white suburban kids were listening to Fuck the Police and starting to question authority. N.W.A. was effectively exporting the ghetto perspective directly into the living rooms of middle America.
So Fuck That Police became this symbol of resistance against the system, neoliberalism.
Neoliberalism in this context really means the dismantling of social safety nets, while at the same time increasing the power of the police state. N.W.A. was pointing a finger and saying, the system isn't broken, it's designed to crush us. And that message resonated not just in Compton, but globally.
So they're on top of the world, they're political icons, they're rich.
Yeah.
But money changes everything.
And that brings us to the first fracture. Late 1989, early 1990.
Ice Cube leaves.
The primary writer, the voice of the group's conscience, he just walks away.
Why? I mean, what was the specific issue?
It all comes down to the contract, and we need to get a little technical here to understand why Cube was so angry.
Please, break it down for us.
Okay, so in the music industry, you have points or royalties on an album. Eazy-E owned the label, Ruthless Records. Jerry Heller was the manager.
Heller manages the group, and Eazy owns the recordings.
Correct, but here's the problem. Jerry Heller was taking a percentage as the manager. But because he was also Eazy's business partner in the label, there were accusations of double dipping.
And where did that leave the rest of the guys?
With the scraps. Ice Cube got a lawyer and looked at the books. He realized that he had written roughly half of the lyrics on a double platinum album. Straight Outta Compton had generated millions and millions in revenue.
And how much was Cube taking home from that?
Reports vary, but Cube claimed he had only been paid about $32,000.
$32,000 for writing half of one of the biggest, most important albums of the decade?
The math just didn't add up. Cube felt he was being completely exploited. He felt Eazy and Jerry were getting rich off his labor, so he refused to sign the long-term contract they offered him.
He bet on himself.
He left the biggest group in the world to go solo. It was a massive, massive risk.
And this kicked off the diss wars, because in hip-hop, you don't just send a cease and desist letter, you send a beat.
Round 1. N.W.A. strikes first. They released the EP 100 Miles and Runnin' in 1990.
And they attacked him pretty directly on that.
Oh yeah, on the title track, Dre raps. We started with 5, but yo, 1 couldn't take it, so now it's 4, because the 5th couldn't make it.
Calling him a quitter. Soft.
And the music video was even more explicit. It showed the 4 remaining members standing together, united, while an Ice Cube look-alike is being released from a jail cell.
The implication being, we're the real street guys doing time, and you're the sellout who couldn't handle it.
They escalated it even further on their next album, Eiffel Vorzagen, which is Niggas for Life, spelled backwards. On the track, Real Niggas, they call him a Benedict Arnold.
That is a very specific historical reference for a rap song.
It implies treason. To them, Cube wasn't just a guy who quit a job, he was a traitor to the family.
So, Cube is getting hammered from all sides. How does he respond?
Well, at first he kept it pretty cool, little jabs here and there on his own records, but then, on his album Death Certificate, he decided it was time to drop the nuclear bomb.
No Vaseline.
This track, it is widely considered one of the most brutal, most effective diss tracks in the history of the genre.
Why? What makes it so effective, so devastating?
It's the specificity. He doesn't just call them names. He surgically dismantles their business arrangement. He raps, "You got jealous and I got my own company. But I'm a man, and ain't nobody humping me."
Implying that the rest of the group were being, let's say, compromised by their business relationship with Jerry Heller.
He painted Eazy-E not as a boss, but as a puppet. He called the rest of the group bozos and carbon copies. He effectively told the entire world, these guys are getting ripped off and they are too stupid to even realize it.
But we have to address the controversy here. There were lines in that song that crossed the line for a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely. Cube directed significant vitriol at Jerry Heller, and he specifically targeted his Jewish heritage. He refers to Heller as a white Jew telling you what to do.
And that sparked accusations of anti-Semitism.
Rightfully so. It was ugly. It caused a firestorm of condemnation from civil rights groups like the Simon Wiesenthal Center. But if you look at it strictly from the perspective of a battle rap, it worked. It completely neutralized them. It made N.W.A. look weak. It made them look like they were being controlled.
And while all this infighting is happening, the sound is changing. We're moving into the early 90s.
Dr. Dre is evolving. That frantic, noisy, sample-heavy sound of Straight Outta Compton is being replaced.
IG funk.
E-funk, gangsta funk. Dre started slowing things down, sampling Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton.
It's got that slower tempo, that high-pitched, whining synthesizer line that just became iconic.
It's smoother. It's music for driving a lowrider on a Sunday afternoon, not for running from the cops. You can hear the prototype of that sound on the N.W.A. track, Always Into Something.
And despite Cube leaving, their second full-length album, Niggas for Life, hit #1 on the Billboard 200.
Which is a huge milestone. It was the first hardcore rap album to top the pop charts. It proved they didn't need radio. They were the mainstream now.
But with that mainstream success came a much darker, much more intense spotlight. And we have to talk about the D. Barnes incident.
This is a very dark chapter, and it's important that we are very clear about the facts. In January of 1991, Dr. Dre assaulted a TV host named D. Barnes.
She hosted Pump It Up, which was a popular hip-hop show at the time.
It was. And the show had aired a segment about the feud between N.W.A. and Ice Cube. N.W.A. felt the coverage was biased towards Cube. They felt it made them look bad.
So they saw her at a party.
At an album release party in Hollywood, Dre approached her. And according to the reports and Barnes' own account, he assaulted her brutally. He slammed her face and her body against a brick wall. He tried to throw her down a flight of stairs. He followed her into the women's restroom and grabbed her by the hair.
It sounds like a terrifying ordeal.
It was. And what makes it even worse, in retrospect, was the group's reaction at the time. They didn't apologize. They showed no remorse.
I remember reading a quote from Dre.
He told Rolling Stone magazine, quote, "It ain't no big thing. I just threw her through a door."
It ain't no big thing.
MC Ren said she deserved it. Eazy-E joked about it. It showed a level of misogyny that went way beyond just lyrics on a record. This was real-world violence against a woman in the industry.
It's a permanent stain on the legacy.
It is. Dre has since apologized multiple times over the years. He stated he was young, he was drinking, he was out of his mind, and that he has worked to be a better man. But we can't erase that history. It's part of the story.
So 1991, they are #1 on the charts. They are more controversial than ever.
Yeah.
And then the second fracture.
Dr. Dre leaves.
The architect of the sound walked away. Is it the same story as Ice Cube?
It's the same story. It was about money. It was about contracts. Dre, with help from his bodyguard Suge Knight, realized that Jerry Heller and Eazy were taking the lion's share of the profits. But this time, Dre didn't just leave alone. He had a new partner.
Suge Knight.
Maybe the most intimidating figure in music history, a former football player, just a massive guy, with a reputation for violence and intimidation.
Dre and Suge formed Death Row Records, but Dre was still under contract to Ruthless.
And this is where the lore gets really crazy. Suge Knight went to meet with Eazy-E to negotiate Dre's release from his contract.
Negotiate.
The story goes that Suge just showed up with guys holding baseball bats and lead pipes. He allegedly told Eazy that he knew where his mother lived.
He coerced him. He threatened him into signing.
That is the allegation. And Eazy signed the release, but, and this is where Eazy's business genius comes back in one more time, he didn't sign away everything.
What did he keep?
He kept a percentage of Dr. Dre's future publishing.
Wait, so that means...
It means that when Dr. Dre went on to release The Chronic, one of the biggest and most influential albums of all time, Ruthless Records, was getting paid. Every single time, nothing but a G thing played on the radio, Eazy got a check.
That's the ultimate last laugh.
It infuriated Dre, and it sparked Diss Wars, round 2. This time, it was Ruthless versus Death Row.
And Dre fired the first shot with Fuck With Dre Day.
And the video. Oh, the video. They had a character called Sleazy-E, a tiny guy with a jury curl running around looking desperate for money. It was designed to be as humiliating as possible.
People thought Eazy was finished. They thought, without Dre's beats, Eazy is nothing.
But Eazy proved them all wrong. He released an EP called It's On, Dr. Dre, 187 Killa.
And 187 is the police code for murder.
He was going for the kill. The main track, Real Mythy Fucking G's, is just a brilliant piece of battle rap.
How did he attack Dre? What was his angle?
He went right after his authenticity. He called him a studio gangster. He said Dre wasn't really from the streets. He was just an actor playing a part. And unlike N.W.A.'s attacks on Cube, Eazy had visual evidence.
The photos.
Eazy dug up those old promo photos of the world-class Wreckin' Crew.
The sequins. The lipstick.
The makeup.
Yeah.
The lace gloves. And he put them in the music video and on the album's insert.
I mean, imagine being a fan in 1993. You think Dr. Dre is the hardest guy on the planet, and then Eazy shows you a picture of him looking like a member of a disco group.
It was devastating. Eazy rapped, "Damn, it's a trip, how a nigga could switch so quick from wearing lipstick to smoking on Chronic at picnics."
That line. It just destroyed Dre's street cred for a minute there.
It completely leveled the playing field. It showed that Eazy could survive and thrive on his own.
Where is MC Ren in all of this?
Ren was kind of stuck in the middle. He stayed with Ruthless Records. He was critical of Eazy in interviews. He called him a big head and a wannabe megastar, but he didn't leave. He was just trying to build his solo career while his two best friends were tearing each other apart in public.
It felt like this feud would just last forever. It was so personal, so bitter.
But life has a way of intervening.
March of 1995.
Eazy goes to the hospital. He thinks he has asthma or maybe bronchitis. He's been having trouble breathing for a while.
And the diagnosis shocks the entire world.
It wasn't asthma, it was AIDS. And it was very advanced.
It happened so unbelievably fast.
Incredibly fast. From the time of his diagnosis to his death was only a matter of weeks. He died on March 26, 1995.
He was only 31 years old.
Just a baby, really.
Was there any reconciliation before he passed away?
There was. Eazy and MC Ren patched things up. They even recorded a duet called Tha Mutha Fucking Real. And importantly, Dre visited him in the hospital.
He did?
He did. By that point, Eazy was unconscious. But Dre went to his bedside. It was a moment of silence between former brothers.
And what about DJ Yella?
Yella was the loyal soldier to the very end. He was the only member who never beefed with Eazy. He stayed by his side. He produced Eazy's final album. He was a pallbearer at the funeral.
Eazy's death seemed to just snap everyone out of the hate.
It forced a total reevaluation. The anger just evaporated. In later songs like What's the Difference, Dre raps about Eazy with pure love. He says, I'm still with you. The tragedy cemented the bond that the business had broken.
Let's fast forward a bit into the late 90s, early 2000s. The legacy continued to grow. And in 2000, we had the Up in Smoke tour.
This was like the Avengers assembling for hip-hop. You had Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, MC Ren, Snoop Dogg, Eminem. It was the biggest hip-hop tour of all time.
And they did a semi-reunion on that tour.
They did. For the N.W.A. portion of the show, Snoop Dogg would come out and rap Eazy's verses. It was a tribute.
So why didn't they ever release a full reunion album? I know they tried to.
Not these niggas. Again, that was the working title for it.
It's a great title.
It is. It failed because of corporate red tape. It was a business nightmare. You had Dre on Aftermath Interscope. Cube was on Priority. Other rights were held by No Limit Records. The lawyers just couldn't figure out how to make the deal work between 3 competing major labels.
It's so ironic. The business is what started the group, and the business is what prevented the reunion.
Exactly.
But the story got a massive second wind in 2015 with the movie Straight Outta Compton.
This film was in what they call development hell for a decade. Nobody thought they could pull it off.
But it was a monster hit. Over $200 million at the box office.
And the casting, I mean, O'Shea Jackson Jr. playing his own father, Ice Cube.
That could have been a total disaster.
Yeah.
It could have been nepotism gone wrong.
But he nailed it. He had the scowl. He had the cadence. He studied for years to get it right.
And having Dre and Cube as producers meant the music was perfect.
And Eazy's widow, Tamika Woodswright, was involved to protect Eazy's legacy. Now, it sanitized some things. It famously glossed over the D. Barnes incident, for example, but it captured the energy and the spirit of that era perfectly.
Let's talk about the musical legacy as we start to wrap this up.
Yeah.
We mentioned nu metal earlier. Connect those dots for me. How do you get from N.W.A. to a band like Slipknot?
It's all about the aggression and the rhythm. N.W.A. introduced a style of rapping that was really percussive, shouting on the beat. If you listen to the vocal delivery of bands like Korn or System of a Down, that staccato, rhythmic yelling is directly descended from the hostility of Straight Outta Compton. It's the sound of alienated male rage.
And of course, Eminem.
Eminem is the direct spiritual successor. Dr. Dre discovered him, mentored him, and on Forgot About Dre, Eminem literally raps the instruction. Just study a tape of N.W.A. He's openly acknowledging the blueprint.
And finally, the institutions. The FBI hated them, but now...
The Library of Congress preserved the album Straight Outta Compton in the National Recording Registry.
So the government is now preserving the Sonic Molotov cocktail.
They have a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2016.
It's the quintessential American story, isn't it? You start as the villain, and if you survive long enough and make enough money, you become the hero.
You become the establishment you fought against.
So what does this all mean? Why are we still talking about this group almost 40 years later?
I think it matters because 5 guys from a neighborhood that America wanted to forget decided that their story, the story of Compton, was worth telling. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't try to make it palatable. They just said, this is our reality. And by doing that, they forced the entire world to look at something it really wanted to ignore.
They turn local news into global history. So here's a final thought for you to take away. We talked about how the critics at the time dismissed their lyrics as just violent, misogynistic noise. But the FBI took it seriously. The United States government treated a rap song like a weapon.
That is the tell. That's the part that matters.
What does it say about the true power of music? When a track called Panic Zone, a song that was literally titled as a business decision to avoid the word Hispanic, eventually evolves into a movement that the powers that be consider an existential threat to the entire social order.
It says that art is never just art. If you tell the truth loudly enough for long enough, it becomes a weapon.
I encourage you to go back and listen to those albums. Don't just hear the beat, hear the history, hear the protest, and hear the warning.
It's all there in the grooves.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We will catch you on the next one.